What's up, everybody? Today, we're doing a breakdown of the Airship theme from Horizons of Achaea. It's a brand new indie game in development, sort of a spiritual successor to the old school Skies of Arcadia, if you remember that. Really excited to be scoring this. I'm so grateful to the team, to everyone involved, to be making the music for this game. I'm really excited. I love music from the JRPG era, really grew up on it, and it's just been so much fun. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Airship theme. It's big, it's exciting, it's boisterous. We're just going to listen to it start to finish, and then we'll dive into the orchestration, a bit of the behind the scenes, a bit of how to and why did I make certain choices and all that fun stuff. So here we go. Here's the Airship theme from Horizons of Achaea. So one of the first elements that I knew I needed to create was sort of this driving, sort of just pushing it forward, right? If you're in an airship, you're flying through the skies of this fantastical land, you need something to push it forward. Bump, 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 bump. You'll find it everywhere. You'll find it everywhere. I took two bassoons, my cello, and my double basses to just do a right on the beat. Yump, bump, 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 bump. Okay. And then I took my clarinets and horns to do the more rhythmic figure like so. Okay, and then of course the violins come in with the melody. So for the fellow sheet music nerds in the room like myself, here's kind of what it looks like. So I have a big swell in the beginning and then sort of this rhythmic figure with the clarinets and the horns. And then, of course, the violas and the violins playing the melody with a nice big octave lush sound. And one thing I knew I wanted was just the woodwinds to be exciting and lively and almost like conversational. I wanted the woodwinds to just feel like they're just like you're seeing birds and I don't know, clouds and stars and that kind of stuff just flying by. So I have those types of little woodwind figures as well. So for example, right in the beginning of this track, I've got like the piccolo and the high flutes doing something like this. Right, so if I put that behind the full track, just pay attention to that little ornamentation there. It's subtle, right? It's subtle. And the woodwinds, they kind of sit behind the strings, and they're not always meant to be just front and center. Sometimes they can be just kind of coloristic and embellishments. I don't know if you noticed, but there was like a little kind of counter melody, and I love counter melodies. A counter melody being, let's say you have your big primary melody that you heard out of the strings. A counter melody is something that is its own melody, but sort of works also as accompaniment. Just listen to the French horn. There's like this little melody that comes in. It's kind of subtle, but it's there. It's fun. I'm going to be saying the word it's fun like throughout this entire video. And sometimes when I'm thinking about music like this, it's good to, I almost said fun. It's good to switch up the colors, right? Who's taking charge of the melody, right? First it was the strings, and then I sort of give it to the French horns right here. I also double that with the English horn, which is basically a cousin to the oboe. And you kind of hear the difference in the texture here. This way, the strings get to do something more exciting and accompanimental like this. Give that melody also doubled with high range in the cello, and you get this. Right? Bringing everybody back in, and you have this. Little woodwind flourish there, doubled with the harp. You know, it just adds. It adds to the sparkle of it all. And then you change it up, right? Bring the dynamic down a bit just to create a different part of the journey, right? If you're soaring through the skies and you're part of this very large story-based adventure, you need some character, right? You need some characterization, I suppose. In this case, I have a nice oboe solo. And here we go. Let's lead into the oboe solo here. If you notice, the horn again has a little counter melody, and it sort of imitates what the oboe did. If you pay attention to how this main melody, this airship theme, da da dum, that little, honestly, it's just a little scale. It's a very important little musical figure to the overarching theme. Yeah. Da-da-dun, da-da-dun, right? You could make a whole piece just on those little 3 notes alone if you really wanted to. Then let's talk about, the little flourishes in there. It's 2 flutes and a xylophone that has this little percussive, I guess, ornamentation. Again, thinking about accompaniment, how can we keep this momentous rather than just constantly just banking on that rhythm from the beginning? Yum bump 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 bump. There's this little, I have flutes and clarinets doing this little kind of syncopated sounding accompaniment. And then they jump in for the melody there. But it just moves it forward, right? If I mute them, it just, notice the difference. If I mute them and then play it without them. I forgot to mute the xylophone, but you get the idea, right? And then when you bring them back in, because the xylophone also doubles them. It's just a neat little way to, again, keep it alive. Just keep things alive. Now, my favorite section, this section was so much fun to write. It's just this big and bold, it's a big and bold moment where you have all the strings, aside from the double bass, just playing this big old melody. It's just grandiose. The idea was grandiose here. Almost like a fanfare, right? It's basically a fanfare. Taking a look at the score, this is what's happening. This is just breaking it down. This is what's happening. We have these woodwind runs kind of passing and dovetailing between each other, right? So the flute 1 goes up, comes down, passes it to flute 2, goes up, comes down, rinse, repeat, right? And so then who's taking the melody? I've got a couple oboes, English horn, and again, cello through violins, all the strings, all the high strings, and the high range of the cello. And then the brass just creating this wall of harmony right in the center. Da, 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 you know? And the trumpet's doing this little John Williams-esque kind of flourish there. But again, what this does is these woodwinds are creating all this forward momentum. The woodwinds are creating all this kind of motion. The brass is creating this bed of harmony right in the center here. Right? They're taking care of the harmony. The woodwinds are creating motion. And the strings are taking care of the, primarily the strings are taking care of the melody. You put it all together and you get... One of my favorite spots is the piccolo. There's a little piccolo moment. Right here. Let's listen to that by itself. It just, again, it's like imagine a little bird flying by, right? Just that kind of stuff. It may seem silly to talk about, but this is the kind of stuff that I think about when I make music, right? Like, oh, if you're flying in a boat, like, oh, there's a bird. Oh, there's a plane. There's this, there's that. Well, there's probably not planes if there's airships. It's probably other airships or pirates. Let's talk about that melody too, the restatement of the main theme of this airship. I gave it to the horns, just the French horns. And what I did is I actually put them in octaves. The French horn has a very big range, very big range. So if I just did it in, one line rather than an octave, sounds cool, but then you lose that bottom end of the meat of the French horn. So if you visualize it, as you can see, these two are playing together and then these bottom two are playing together. And it just creates a very thick French horn sound. And it's a good range for the French horns. Again, for the music nerds in the room, it's a good range for the horns. And a little subtle thing, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's like a little bump, bump. I gave it to the trombones, all three trombones in unison together. Right, that, just like that. So again, it's very simple, but stuff to keep things moving, stuff to keep things interesting. And strings are also, they're very good at just creating this nice little gentle rhythmic. Just a nice little gentle rhythmic figure. Creating just like a close harmony. They're very close together, just right in the middle, low mid range, just creating a nice gentle bed of sound. There again was a French horn counter melody, right? I clearly like doing that. And then we have to modulate, right? Then we got to go back to the original key because we've moved out of the original key center. So you'll hear sort of these unique chord changes here. So we're going from D major to then B flat. Sometimes when I'm writing music like this, I start moving the key center around and then I get to the end of the loop and I'm like, well, I got to get back to the beginning. So sometimes it's a matter of coming up with unique sort of modulations or moving away from that key center back to the original one. Well, there it is. Thanks so much for watching this breakdown video. I hope this helps you sort of get a sense of where we are as musicians when we think about this type of stuff. And rest assured, there will be more. There will definitely be more videos like this. And please continue to support the developers. We can't thank you enough. Thanks again for watching. And as always, we'll see you on the horizon.